Malo. Ko talo hatu ki malu o te takitaki hono. Na hui malu o nā tunuku kehe ko i loto tēnei hono tangata au. Te malo Barbados kai mai he te komiti ngā lue o malo ka whatahi mō tēnei hono tangata au. Greetings. Greetings to the chairperson, distinguished representative of all the countries represented at this very important meeting. The government of Barbados as host and the organizing committee of this very important conference. Is this the turning point? Tokelau hopefully is in the midst of that transition from non-sustainable practices to entirely sustainable practices. As the elders of Tokelau, we can clearly see for ourselves the recent changes in our surroundings. The abundance of animal life and plant life in the past has gone. In fact, today, some species have nearly disappeared. Even some aspects of our health have declined. Non-communicable disease reflect not only our changing diet, but also our changing lifestyle. And as for pollution, there was in the past no such word in our vocabulary. Today, as the decision makers in Tokelau, we need to take stock of these changes, assess whether these changes are good or bad, and take the appropriate measures to ensure that the same mistakes are not made in the future. Thanks to the South Pacific Regional Environment Program, or SPREP, Tokelau may now be well on the road to attaining sustainable development, or sustainable living, as we prefer to call it. Tokelau is one of the smallest Pacific island nation consisting of only 12.7 square kilometers of land. Its three atolls are home to some very delicate ecosystems. For that reason alone, extra care must be taken. If Tokelau is to retain its strong cultural identity, then it will be very difficult to do so if our atoll become uninhabitable. It is our wish to continue to inhabit this extremely isolated atoll, serviced only by monthly cargo boat. We have all appreciated the assistance to date with approved housing, water collection, sanitation, transport, communication, education and health. However, compromises have had to be made, or did they? Many recent development projects have altered our lifestyle, our health and our behavior. Our recent environmental management project, currently funded by SPREP and the UNDP, or the United Nations Development Project, has helped us to focus on these recent changes. We are now having to make important decisions which will help us to reduce the negative impacts on our people and their surroundings. We found this Without the ongoing advice from the SPREP, many of these decisions would simply have not been made. Our traditional knowledge and practices cannot be replaced without seriously endangering our ability to survive on these atolls. For this reason, all the elders in Tokelau are demanding that only sustainable practices are employed. Now is the time to act before we lose too much of our wild stocks, a source of our food. Before we saturate our atolls with pollutant, and before we lose our own unique culture. To that extent, we are now taking a very serious look at the way we are managing our 4 small communities made up of only 1,600 people. This Conference of Sustainable Development for Small Island Nations helps highlight the importance of sustainable living. In Tokelau, it is with great regret that Tokelau is unable to have an official delegate at this conference. The entire government administration for Tokelau is undergoing a significant transition at present as we endeavor to attain self-governing status in cooperation with New Zealand. We are extremely grateful to the New Zealand delegation to this conference to officially represent Tokelau's interest and to sincerely pass on our regret to you all. However, it is crucial that we have the highest level of understanding of the principles of sustainability. What Tokelau is requesting from this conference is the latest in sustainable technology. The kind of technology that is affordable, easily maintained, and helps to reduce the environmental impacts currently being reported in Tokelau. There is now a stronger emphasis on improving the standard of living of our communities. But this time, we found that this advantage of reduced health standards and serious impacts on our natural resources. On behalf of the people of Tokelau, I would like to formally thank you, the leaders of the world, who decided to focus on our part of the globe after the Rio Summit. We in Tokelau applaud this initiative to help us solve our immediately environmental problems, to help us prevent unnecessary damage to our delicate surroundings. Our thanks to the organizing committee of this conference for putting it all together to enable you and us to preserve the world for the generations of tomorrow. We acknowledge the assistance from the United Nations system, and in particular the United Nations Development Program. A very special faculty thank you must go to SPREP, not only for their continuing support, but more especially for the assistance provided for making this video. We must state again our deep appreciation for the ongoing support of the people and the government of New Zealand. We have not chosen the government of New Zealand's delegation as the carrier of our message to this conference by accident. As our major sustaining nations, they are very aware of our problems to sustain ourselves. The Pacific region is still plagued with environmental problems that have been recognized for at least the last 20 years, and yet they are still with us today. Problems such as deforestation, human population growth, pollution, loss of biodiversity, climate changes, and a gradual cultural erosion. So, will this conference be the turning point? If not for the entire Pacific, then at least for Tokelau. Best wishes for substantial and successful outcome to the conference. Manuia Te Whaiua.